Welcome to the Rewind YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Dasha and I'm the Partnerships Manager here at Rewind. Today, I'm Zooming with a really exciting guest. His name is Luigi Macha and he's the founder of Kalashok, a BigCommerce agency. Kalashok has been around for over 12 years. You can only imagine the types of insights and stories that Luigi has to share with 12 years of experience under his belt. So let's get right into it. So thank you for coming on, Luigi. It's great to have you.
Great to be on.
To get started, I'm just going to get you to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the world of e-commerce, and how you started Kalashok.
Yeah. I've been running Kalashok for 12 years now. Before I started Kalashok, I actually worked in finance, but my kind of first dabble in e-commerce was in 2004. I had a family business. We sold hair products, which is quite ironic. We sold on a platform called Actinic. You had to install it on your computer, and once a day you'd go in, download all of the orders and process them. It was really kind of antiquated. And then also set up a website selling coffee, which was again it stemmed from the fact that in the old days, you didn't used to be able to get Italian coffee in England. So we kind of, whenever we went back home to Italy, you'd come back with suitcases full of food. It's not like now that you can have food from anywhere in the world. And so one day we just thought, this is silly. Like, we'll go into Italy and come back with like 10 kilos of coffee. We can't be the only ones. Let's sell some coffee. So that's kind of how we got I kind of got into e-commerce. So it's kind of really solving a problem. And then kind of things moved on, kind of started Kalashok, and it was more of a marketing consultancy rather than e-commerce. Really kind of as the business maybe got a bit more refined and better managed, it kind of built this niche into e-commerce. And then now it's niched entirely in BigCommerce. That's kind of our business. We're a BigCommerce systems integrator.
And so you found BigCommerce. Your coffee shop, I'm assuming, wasn't actually on BigCommerce. How did you end up finding BigCommerce?
We worked with a company called Interspire, which is BigCommerce's predecessor. But at the time, BigCommerce was a small business e-com platform. The founders of BigCommerce kind of wanted to allow small businesses really access to the features and tools that the bigger merchants had, because they had bigger budgets, so kind of democratizing e-commerce. We kind of got, one merchant who was spending $30 a month. And, if we had a merchant who was spending like $249 a month, they were like your big client, you looked after them, which, they're still important, but, obviously the platform's progressed. So kind of as Interspire launched BigCommerce, we kind of made that natural transition. It was quite well received actually for the merchants in the UK that we spoke with. They hadn't heard of BigCommerce before. It was SaaS, which 10 years ago was kind of like the cloud. I think the product just, when you showed them how it worked and what they got with it, sold itself. So it was a really good kind of fit for us at the beginning as well.
Perfect. And who would you say has been your favorite merchant to work with on BigCommerce, or a favorite build that you've done in the past?
Two probably stand out for different reasons. We work with a couple of enterprise merchants that we're not kind of really allowed to talk to, but the reason why they stand out, or one of them anyway, is there is this nice idea of working with some big clients, but you really get to learn how slow the process is and how many hoops you have to jump just to dot an I. And so that kind of really was an eye opener, because you can't say to somebody, oh, it's going to be 3 months from start to finish, which it would be if I could ring up a client and say, hey, we just need approval on this. It can take like 3 weeks to internally kind of get this. So that was a really interesting project. And it was because it was also kind of an enterprise merchant, there was a lot of customization in the platform. So it wasn't just building on BigCommerce, it was working to kind of build this whole ecosystem. But we've got, we work with some really cool customers, and it wouldn't be fair to single them out. But we're just launching a website for a merchant in the UK, and I've got to say they're probably the most clued up and innovative that I've worked with. I mean, they were really prepared. They are really pushing the boundaries of BigCommerce, and it was great to work with them, because normally we kind of take customers' hands and we guide them and we help them. But it was great because we were kind of on the same level, saying, right, we need to try and get BigCommerce to do this, and we've done some research. So that was a really enjoyable kind of project, and we obviously working with BigCommerce as well. It was great to kind of get their support. So yes, that was a really interesting one. I said it's not live just yet at the time of recording, but it will be kind of any day soon, really.
Okay, maybe we can add a link to them after when they launch.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
What suggestion would you give to a merchant that's starting out and hoping to scale and become a BigCommerce enterprise level merchant?
I think it's probably true whether kind of BigCommerce is your platform or not. But one of the things that I would say is, really kind of get to know your customers, because I kind of quite often hear that merchants think that's what that's how website is designed, or that's the user journey, because that's what they think they would do.
Right.
And a really good eye opener recently has been another merchant who has a kind of an on-prem build, and their website wasn't mobile friendly. So really, to kind of say, right, how are we going to optimize the mobile journey? We kind of had to understand their client, because I'm quite tech savvy. For me to go on a mobile and order, but their customers tend to be kind of our parents' age, just slightly older. So we kind of had to put ourselves into their shoes and say, right, how would they navigate that? So it's really important you understand your client, because if you don't, you're not really meeting their needs. But one of the kind of most important things I would say is make a distinction between running the business and running the office. And what I mean by that is, I have, when I've spoken to prospective merchants, had people say that they're on certain platforms where they get up in the middle of the night to run an update, because in case there's any problems, they're not really losing business. And those are the kind of things that the compromises you make, because you get involved in a tech stack that actually might not be your strength. You might know everything there is about a technology, but if your strength is running the business, or is marketing, is innovating, or whatever it is, focus on that, not the stuff that in essence pulls you back. I think is really that binary. You're either going forwards or you're going backwards. And if you're stuck trying to fix, a piece of code, or upgrade a server, or do some PCI compliance, that's pulling you back, because there are solutions out there that can deal with all that, like BigCommerce. So, those are the two things that I would kind of understand, because you also need to know your customer when you're marketing. Are your customers on social media? Are your customers reading emails? Are they influenced by influencers, or by their friends? You have to know these nuances so that you're able to just define the customer journey and define how you market to them. But it's no point going on social media if your customers aren't going to be on there. And just because you are doesn't mean that they will be. So it's really important to kind of know your clients.
Right, and not to project your own sort of beliefs onto your clients either. What would you recommend for people who are taking this advice and want to get their customers, want to get to know them better? Do they just pick up a phone and call? Do they survey them? What would you recommend as a starting point?
So Net Promoter Score is fantastic. NPS, massively undervalued as well, and underestimated. And the reason why I think it's really important is, and we all get these. Most people I speak to, they don't know what NPS is, but we've all got them an email where it says, how likely are you from 1 to 10 to recommend us? So that's a Net Promoter Score, NPS. And the really good thing is that if you actually drill down on those, well, why did you only give us an 8 or a 7 or a 6? Because your shipping costs are too high, because it takes you 3 days to deliver. You don't accept PayPal. So it's really good, because it's a really easy way of interacting with the client. Surveys are fine. I think, there's a really low take-up rate. But if you're able to kind of build a community as well, so it depends on your business model, if you've got high lifetime value or not. So if your business sells mirrors, you're unlikely to be able to get some decent feedback from customers, because they'll look, I bought the mirror, I'm not likely to kind of return. But if you sell a product where the customers are coming back week in, month in, whatever it is, try and kind of build the rapport, the community, and those loyal fans, if you treat them well enough, will give you all the feedback, you know, because as they become fans, they want you to succeed because they want to keep buying off you. And if you convince them that you're doing all these things to make their life better, in essence, you know, whether it's reordering quicker, navigating the website, you know, easier, I think, you know, they'd be quite willing to do that. So, you know, surveys are fantastic as well, but I would probably start off with NPS, the Net Promoter Score.
Right on. So we covered advice that you would give the merchant, but what if we look at the agency that's getting started? So the new agency on the block who wants to grow, what advice would you give them?
I'm a massive believer in niches. I think the saying kind of, if you try and please everyone, you please no one, is kind of never rung true in a lot of industries. And, you know, if you become like a Me Too agency, say, look, you know, we do websites, what do you want? Magento, WooCommerce, PrestaShop, Shopify, BigCommerce. I think, yes, you are kind of working for the client because you're saying, tell me what you want and I'll sort it out. But you're not necessarily doing things in the client's best interest. We work exclusively with BigCommerce because we think it's the best solution for most of the clients that approach us. But it might not be the best for other merchants. So I'd probably say, you know, find a niche and become kind of really good at what you do. You know, become known for that as well. And also the partnerships is really important. So the partnership we have with Rewind, the partnership we have with BigCommerce, because if you manage to harness and build on that relationship, it also allows you to add value to the merchant. Why are Calashock as a Rewind merchant better than another BigCommerce agency that has heard of Rewind? Because if we have a problem, if we have a question, we have the relationships and the resources to get in contact and say, look, you know, can we answer this question? Can you help us with this? Whereas somebody that's just, you know, standalone doesn't have that relationship to leverage. So the partnerships are really, really important.
Perfect. Well. Yeah, I think that'll be very helpful for some new agencies. Are there any apps that you recommend to merchants as a must-have app as an agency?
Rewind is obviously the top of our list. So now we all projects that we take on, customers are kind of in essence told that they have to take out Rewind as a subscription. Obviously kind of on the BigCommerce, but I think you really have to look at, again, your business. So are there any holes that need to be plugged? Are your customers going to be getting email marketing, or are they on social media? Or how are you engaging with them? So most businesses, you know, can rely on email marketing. So, you know, MailChimp, Digital, Klaviyo, sorry. And in terms of kind of operations, how are you managing orders? How are you managing omnichannel? Because now a BigCommerce instance is not the core of an e-commerce business. It's one part of a larger ecosystem. So where merchants are pushing out to BigCommerce, to Amazon, to eBay, or in the States to Walmart and Wayfair and other kind of marketplaces, how are you efficiently, you know, managing that? Are you running around between platforms updating stock which I've heard people do, or are you actually saying, right, there is a cost attached to a warehouse management system or an order management system, but actually, if we look at it as an investment, the couple of $100s a month is saving me X amount of time or X amount of disappointed customers because actually we do have the stock, but I didn't update it in time. So it's really kind of, it is on a use case basis, but yeah, there are a handful of apps that we kind of recommend to merchants. Certainly, as I said, on the marketing side, you have to market to your merchants. Very few businesses don't have to market. Kind of operation, just because you've got the order doesn't mean you can't make efficiencies in the back office. So, you know, we work very closely with Limworks here in the UK, and also PIMS. So product information management systems, again, they're really underestimated because a lot of people kind of think, well, you know, on Amazon, I'll just look for the product, I'll put my offer and off we go. But actually, if you invest the time in optimizing the listing, in, you know, building the content around it, and you can do that through PIMS that will make your life easier. And we had a demo last week with a PIM in Spain, and just some of the stuff that's coming out there is fantastic, and it's making the merchant's life much easier. So yes, there is a cost attached, but if you kind of look at it as an investment, then, you know, normally it's kind of net positive. So.
Absolutely. So find the gap, invest in the right solution, and watch it pay itself off over time.
There's always a better way. So you've always got to kind of pick holes, always, you know.
Agreed. A question, sort of random, but how did you come up with the name for Kalashok?
So it goes back to the e-commerce website, actually. So the website we had that sold hair straighteners was called Urban Shock.
Oh,
And we had urbanshock.com.co.uk, we had Feel the Shop, we had all these kind of things that ended in the shop. And I was on holiday in California, and there's a town just north of Los Angeles called Calabasas. It's like gated communities. It's the kind of things you dream about when you launch your business. Anyway, so you know, I came back to the UK and I was working in London at the time. I remember distinctly where I was crossing the road, and it was just, when people say like that light bulb moment, it was like that. I was crossing the road. It was Fenchurch Street in London. I remember it distinctly, and I thought, Kalashok. And I think it really works because it's so unique. It doesn't really mean anything. We've done surveys kind of, you know, when you think of Kalashok, what do you think? And it's kind of like, I don't know what it means. But actually, you know, we're not kind of ABC designs and so on, where there's like, you know, so much content. You know, with Kalashok, you know, when you Google it or when you're kind of searching for it, hopefully most things are kind of positive and you're able to find us. So yeah, and I think that's really important, to have a name that is unique, whether it's for a website or a business, that's unique, but also you're not having to spell every time. So I've had that a couple of times. Is it like Kalashak? Is it Kala with a K? So, you know, you get the occasional ones, but overall, you know, it seems to work for us.
have you been back to Calabasas since your lifelong moment?
Not yet. No, I mean, most of the clients we work with in the States are on the East Coast, but I guess, yeah, I should go and pay homage to where it all started. Right?
Yeah, I think you deserve that trip.
Yes.
Another question for you is, what was, if we could pick two moments, so one, a really good surprise working at Kalashok, so a memory that stands out to you, and then we'll go the other way. So something that took you by surprise, maybe in a bad way, working at Kalashok.
Right. So I think kind of on the negative side, it's probably been kind of when I think discovery is often something that is underestimated again by a lot of merchants. If you don't get a project discovery right, you just set yourself for disaster. And I think we're always learning, but you know, there have been projects where the discovery maybe has not been done either as in depth, or maybe we didn't prod enough, because then what happens is you have to balance scope and budget creep against customer kind of expectations and satisfaction, I guess, because we have to guide customers. I hate the kind of thing, you know, the customers are always stupid and stuff, because I think that's really derogatory. You have to guide them. You kind of think, you know, you're at a certain level, I'm just going to make sure we're on the same level. And so sometimes, you know, taking things for granted and maybe haven't been thorough enough in the scopes, and things come up saying, well, yeah, we want that. And so, you know, sometimes you have to kind of say, well, you know, how do we approach this? Do we kind of say, well, here's a nice big invoice, or do you suck it up and say, right, well, you learn and move on? So certainly kind of on the discovery side, it's, there've been instances that we've learned from, and, you know, you can look at them as mistakes or you can look at them as lessons. It depends if you want to be positive or negative. But I mean, in terms of kind of the I guess the good experiences, it was probably when one of our biggest clients, which is an international motor company, car company, actually chose BigCommerce. Now, going from a place where BigCommerce was $24.95 a month and $79.95 a month, to actually having one of the biggest car companies in the world say, we're going to choose BigCommerce and we're going to choose to work with you. I mean, that you kind of think, right, we're now, you know, the platform's progressed. Us as an agency, obviously, we've progressed as well. That was kind of really exciting, because it kind of, again, gives you the confidence to say, right, actually, everything we believed in, everything we worked towards, and, you know, and we were right to make the decision to go with BigCommerce solely. There wasn't this glass ceiling where saying, well, you know, actually, we're going to go with another platform. BigCommerce was now a serious contender and able to get kind of the big brands on board. So that was just, it's coming up to 4 years actually. That happened. And again, I remember kind of where I was when that happened. And I think that was probably one of the fondest memories, because, you know, it was a culmination of kind of, you know, a couple of years worth of work where you want to start running. and you just needed that one project to kind of, there's a bit of proof that yes, it can be done.
It was all worth it.
It was all worth it, yes.
Thanks for sharing. Where can people find Kalashok? Do you have Twitter, your website? Let us know where we can find you.
Kalashok.com is the website, and then you've got links to Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And we're also going to be launching our new podcast at the end of this month. So that's on the website as well, and you'll be able to listen in. It's all things about BigCommerce, how merchants can kind of, make the most of BigCommerce and merchant stories, some partners as well. So that's going to be an exciting one as well.
Awesome. Have you selected a name yet?
We have, yes. We put out to vote, and yesterday we did the artwork for it. So
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure that a lot of merchants and agencies alike will learn a lot from you. And yeah, it was great having you on.
Hopefully. Very good. Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up below and follow our YouTube channel for more videos like this. See you next time.